So in New York right now, and this is the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 as well as the Flip 7, but this will be your first look at what the box looks like so you can kind of see a new design. This is also the first time we are getting a big change in terms of the overall design. So quickly, you'll take a quick look around. It's pretty standard. And on the inside, the Fold is sitting on top. This is actually their Hero colorway in shadow blue. And on the back, this is where the rest of the user manuals, warranty info, as well as just the USB-C cable live. That's pretty much it for that side. And underneath you have the actual phone itself. And like I said, this is the Hero colorway. So it does come in 3 color options. So the shadow blue, it comes in jet black, silver shadow, as well as the online exclusive, which I think is super unique this year. It's called Mint. So if any of you are like big Porsche fans, there's like a PTS color called Mint, the same color. If you could get a mint phone with a mint like GT3 RS, we're going off topic, that would be pretty dope. But let me know what your favorite color option is. And you can actually see from the first time looking at the device, the big thing is the actual form factor. So it has finally gotten way thinner and way more of a usable front cover screen. So it's 6.5 inches, 2520 by 1080. It's dynamic AMOLED 2X, and it has a more usable form factor. So when you're actually using it for the majority of the time, I would say for most folding phones, when you're just like day-to-day checking regular apps, when you're browsing, when you're checking the phone for the first time in the day, for example, you're on the Now brief, you're going through the settings, you're going through the basic UI, when you're using the camera as an example, there are very few times when you open up the actual phone, launch the camera app. I know that we did some testing when we were at the actual event. The reality is most of the time you are not using it like this unless maybe you're my parents that like to shoot like photos off of like a tablet. Don't be that person. The main reason why you're using this when it's open in this form factor, in my opinion, is to watch content. If you have a different method of why you have the main screen open, please let me know. I'd love to hear other use cases. But when you're watching YouTube, when you're watching actual media, that's when you're gonna use the larger display. But we'll get to that in a second. Like I said, the big changes around this is the actual form factor. So now it's 26% thinner than the Fold 6. And as a reference, the S25 Ultra, their flagship, it's a candy bar style phone that is 8.2 millimeters. So it's almost the same thickness as a regular phone, but obviously this folds. And the biggest thing that I would say with Samsung folding devices, so if you've seen what other players have on the market, I'm looking at Honor devices, I'm looking at Oppo devices, their foldables have always been thinner, and those devices aren't even available in North American markets. You'd have to buy them resale or off of eBay or something. Finally, Samsung has stepped up and have the biggest change to the overall form factor, and I can say that this is in line with those, if not even better. So it actually has a brand new hinge mechanism. So it's called their Armor Flex hinge. It has a water droplet design. It has a multi-rail structure. It is made out of aluminum, but does have a grade 4 titanium lattice. And actually the phone is in fact thinner, but the glass is 50% thicker to make it more durable. And I'd say the majority of people, unless like you're a really big techie and you've seen some of those other phones, holding this folding device in hand, it feels really special. And it is a welcome design change. I will say one thing, I'll talk about the camera in a second. Definitely grab a case for it because the camera module actually sticks out a bit further now because the device is thinner. When you put this like flat on a surface, there is like a lot of noticeable wobble on it. Another thing which I noticed, it's just gotten slightly slimmer, which is a welcome design, is the actual bezels. Those have shrunk down in size, both on the cover display as well on the inside. So this is the main display, which has also gotten larger. It's now 8 inches at 2184 by 1968. So it's 11% larger than the Fold 6. So when you watch that immersive content, I feel like you don't need to travel anymore or use 2 different devices, like having a phone and a tablet. If you're getting this device, that's because you want to eliminate one of those extra devices. And with that new hinge mechanism, I will say the crease in the middle becomes less noticeable. So even when you're shining this like at direct sunlight, we're in my hotel room right now, I can barely see that crease in the middle, which is really nice. Once again, a very welcome update. So the next big change comes to the camera system on the back. So essentially think of this as the S25 Ultra, or at least the main camera. So that's that same 200 megapixel sensor. It's now just being redesigned to be a bit thinner because the device is so thin. But unfortunately for the ultra wide, that's only 12 megapixels and the telephoto is still 10, which is similar to what they had last year. They have made improvements to the visual engine to make some of these shots a bit better. I'll test that out a bit more. I was taking a couple photos during my hands-on. It's just unfortunate that Samsung made the update to the main camera, which in reality, it's the one that you use most of the time. Why couldn't we have a 50 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel telephoto? Maybe it has something to do with how thin the device is. Once again, I'm not too sure, but I'll post some sample shots with my full review. But I guess the big thing with a thinner device, it's usually the battery that suffers. Thankfully, that hasn't changed. It's still 4,400 milliamps. Unfortunately, no mention of the silicon carbon battery, which a lot of other devices have, but maybe that will be an upgrade next year. What is a big change though is, I guess, the camera. So you can see that that's actually a little front camera cutout. Before, we always had that camera underneath the display, and that always, I found, took ambient light from the display. It was never really that good. So now it is at 2.5 times clearer. It thinks I'm taking a selfie because it has that little activation with the wave, and you get 100 degrees of actual view. So it's way better. And I always thought that the under display camera was like a clever piece of tech. It's just tough. When a camera's underneath, you'll obviously always get that light from the display. So I'm glad to see that they just made it just a bit more practical. Last but not least, with every Samsung device, with every device nowadays, you have to chat about AI. So once again, very similar AI features to what they announced at their flagship from the S25. All of those AI features that have been announced have now been enhanced. Will you use every single one of those AI features every single time? Obviously not. Like, how many times are you going to turn photos that you take into cartoons? I did it for a couple demos. It's worth a laugh. It's fine. Austin was a big, good sport about it. But I will say the generative AI on Samsung devices is some of the best that I've seen for, say, removing things from the background. I took a pretty complex photo with a bunch of different people in it. It was able to handle that surprisingly well. And for my iPhone, as an example, that has like the worst generative AI, I would say, out of any device, it would struggle so much. I really like what Samsung is doing with their AI systems. Another one that I really like actually is their audio eraser. So when you take a clip, you can kind of choose which audio to remove. So whether you have background noise, whether you have wind noise, you can remove voices from it, and you can select that all within the editing app within the actual gallery. So that's really easy, intuitive. If you're a content creator, I think it works well. And as a little bonus, audio eraser is available through other system apps as well. And this is actually the first Galaxy phone running Android 16. It's running One UI 8, which is one of my favorite Android skins. It isn't technically like stock, but I do think once again Samsung have gotten way better at having less clutter, more customization options, smoother animations. So in all, it is definitely like a welcome upgrade. I know that this video is all around the folding device. I haven't made one separately around the Flip 7. I did take a look at this. The biggest changes coming to this is actually the cover screen, which has gotten larger, which technically Samsung calls their flex window. So you can see it right here. It covers the entire front screen. So it's 4.1 inches versus the 3.4 from before. You can actually do a lot more on this. So you can launch the Now Brief, you can interact with the phone. And just like, say, the Fold 7, where you use it maybe most of the time when it's folded up, you can now use this most of the time when it's flipped down, when it's flipped in. Obviously, it still has that great flip mechanism. If you are like a true like flipping phone fan, this is still one of the best ones that you can get. This one does come in the 3 color options, so the shadow blue, similar to, or I guess blue shadow, then the Fold 7, also coral red and jet black, and they still have that mint exclusive. So that was pretty much my first look unboxing at the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, however you want to call it. Let me know what you want covered in my full review. I'll be here in New York for the next couple days. Maybe I can take some photos with it, convince MKBHD to be more in my footage. Shameless plug. Let me know if you're pumped to grab one of these. Now I guess like Samsung has the 3 different options in their like flagship or high costing bracket. And before we end off the video, this phone does cost a lot. So Canadian pricing, which I've got, $2,500. That's for 256 gigs. Obviously, the exact price will be on screen. It's similar to what we've seen from the Galaxy Z Fold 6. Am I surprised? I mean, I'm happy that we didn't get a price bump. It still commands a very high price, but now you've got this, the S25 Edge and the S25 Ultra to pick. So across all 3 of those, I'm curious which of the devices that you would pick. Obviously, if you want a foldable device, there's only like one option, but it is a nice design change. I'm happy that it's gotten way thinner. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you in one of my next vids. Peace.